In the last video, we went ahead and installed the two replacement 150 microfarad 450 volt filter caps in the cans, and we also installed a couple of terminal strips with silicon diodes attached, soldered to them, and we wired everything up. I hot glued you'll recall I hot glued underneath each of these caps, so it would be hot glued to the bottom that you see there, the brown. Let me see here, the brown area down in there. Well, I noticed that after I did that, I could take the caps and they would wiggle back and forth. I didn't like that. The bottom was not that hard or that secure. So what I decided to do is add a little more hot glue on each side of the capacitor so it's secured to the aluminum body now. Which brings us to our next endeavor on this thing. The filter caps are pretty much done except put the covers back on, like I said. And now we have to work on this can and this can. This can consists of 4 different capacitors. This can consists of 3 different capacitors. With the negative plate for each of all 7 capacitors, the negative plate is the aluminum can. Okay? So what we have to do is I put the tape around the bottom again. I'm going to take the old proverbial moto tool here and I'm going to gut them babies. I'm going to start with this big one. So I'm going to get at that. You'll see them open hopefully in the next segment. Alright, that was a piece of cake. Both have been cut. This one's nice and loose. This one's nice and loose. Let's see if we can get this baby off of here. Sometimes you can just twist them right on up out of there. Got one right up out of there. Great. Well, that's one. That's what's down in there. Just the metal capacitor connections. Let's see if I can do the same thing with this one. Woohoo! That was a piece of cake. Snapola! Look at that. That's how it's done, folks. Nothing to it. A while back I told you in this particular kind of can that the capacitors consisted of aluminum foil with, separated by a wax kind of paper. And there it is right there, aluminum foil with the paper insulator. And every so often they'd put this type of thing in there. It's another insulator that would have a connector on one end. And you'd have 2 or 3 of these types of I think this is non-conductive material. They would just fold it in the center here and wrap it up with it every so often with the tab sticking out, and that's how they gained the various capacitances inside the same roll. And you just keep unrolling this thing and it'll just unroll forever. So there you go, tin foil and a wax paper kind of deal. That's all there is to it. Now the old radio filter cans, the large ones, some of them had liquid in them. Be careful cutting those open. That liquid is boric acid. It won't hurt you any. But you don't want to be getting it in your eyes, opening it up with a Dremel tool, like I just opened up these 2 cans, because that stuff will spray everywhere once the tool breaks through the can. You can see that the 2 filter can tops still have some of that black tarry type crap down in there. And I want to get it out. Most people, or some people, I guess, not most, would say, that's okay, leave it in there, it's no big deal. I don't like that. I want it clean as I can get it. This is a restoration, and I'm in no hurry anyway. But in order to clean that out, alcohol won't handle it. You're going to have to use lacquer thinner. Once again, our pal. So I'm going to pour a little bit in each of these, and then I'm going to let it set for a while, swish it around a little bit, let it set for a while, then take the old scrub brush and clean them all up real good, and hopefully they'll come out nice and clean. More clean than they are now. Alright, I think I got these 2 pretty clean. Now this one here was the smaller can that we opened up in the last segment. It's got a lot of black stuff down in there. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's just loaded with it. So what we're going to do is take the leftover lacquer thinner from these 2 cans and just pour it in there and let it soak for a while. That'll hopefully dissolve a lot of that. We'll stick that over there. Alright, now doesn't that look a whole lot better down there, nice and shiny? You betcha. Come on now, admit it, looks a lot better, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Alright, while that can continues to soak, I'm going to take the old heat gun and put it to this can right here that still has the guts inside. I couldn't pull them out by hand. So what we'll do is we'll just heat up the top part up in this area here. That's where the black tar is that's holding it in. And then that should loosen it up, and we'll go ahead and pull it out with a pair of gloves, because it does get hot. You want to wear a pair of gloves. And there she is. Boy, that baby was just covered with that tar. You know, I've never seen capacitors with that stuff on it like that. They always just have the wax holding them in, or there's a sheath of paper on the inside. That first time. Boy, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of that stuff. Alright, well now we'll go ahead and fill up this little baby right here with some lacquer thinner. And let that soak for a while. And give it a little refresh over here to this one. And then I'll go inside because it's a little hot out here. I'll just let that soak for a while. Then we'll come back out and see if we can't get it clean. Alright, all 4 cans are nice and clean on the inside. And got them all shiny and everything. Now I can work with them on the outside. And you can see what a terrible mess it was trying to get all that stuff out of there. But, you know, it took about 30 minutes just to do those last 2 cans. These 2 right here. Cleaning up these was a piece of cake. I had most of it out anyway, but these 2 I had to start from scratch. Alright, now we'll move on to the next step in this process. Tell you what, let's go ahead and put these can tops on these filter caps that I restuffed in there, and get them sealed up with this exhaust tape that you can buy at any automotive store. It's called exhaust tape. It's an aluminum metal tape. And but before I do, as usual, I always I write up a little note. This is kind of make a little time capsule out of it, and I always put a dollar bill in there. I kind of like that. I've done that ever since I restored my very first radio. And we'll go ahead and stick that down in there like so. Oops, messed that up. I'm going to have to try it again here. And like so. And just kind of stick it all down in there like so. There we go. I think we got it that time. And then we'll go ahead and stick it on there and put the tape around, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like once it's done. This is that, you know, you just peel the back off this stuff. Works real good. We'll just stick it around like that. Tell you what, before we put the tape on, I want to show you one other little thing I do. I take a little piece of Scotch tape, maybe 3/4 of an inch long, and I hold the can in place where I want it, and then I tape it. Just that little piece right there will hold that can in place while we go ahead and peel this and run it around the bottom and bring it up the other side and stick it on like so. It keeps the can in alignment. There it is. It's all nice and tight, nice and secure. Now you won't have this tape won't be exactly flat. Now remember, this is exhaust tape that you can pick up at a automotive parts store. Okay, let's go ahead and stick the second one on here and get that taped up. Now, one thing I want to stress here on this, the procedures that you've seen up until now, this is the way I do it. It's not what's called the right way. It's my way. And if you have a better way, which you should have a better way, because I always tell folks they're expected to do better than what I do, then by all means go ahead and utilize it. Don't take my way as the only way, because it's not. Last thing I'm going to show you here today is this little rig that I came up with. I've done this before with vintage radios that had numerous capacitors inside the same can, or the can consisted of more than one capacitor. What we have here is a couple of 10 microfarads and a 22 microfarad and a 100 microfarad, which is what this can consisted of. And I've gone ahead and just mounted them on top. All the grounds of each of the cap are grounded to the chassis. All 4 of the ground side, or the negative side of these electrolytics, are grounded to the chassis. So I twisted them all together at the top and then just left one lead, this one right here. I don't know if you can see that very well. I left that one lead bent out, and what I'll do is attach a black wire from it and run it down through the base of the electrolytic can, just like I did these wires over here. I'll bring it out the bottom. So we'll have one black lead, which will be the ground, and I think I'll use maybe orange for the two 10 microfarad leads. One of them is right here. I've got them taped down right now, but one of them is right there and the other one is right there. I'll just connect an orange lead to each of those. Since they're both the same and they're both grounded at the same place, it won't make any difference which one I hook up where, as long as I get them hooked up properly. And then the last one is this 22 lead here. I'll probably use either a green, either a yellow or a green. Yes, either a yellow or green. I haven't decided yet. So essentially what I'm going to have them all done is 1, 2, 3, 4 wires coming down along the side of this large 100 microfarad capacitor. They'll come down here and they'll go out through a hole next to a hole that I drill for this one. So we'll have 2 holes drilled in the bottom of the capacitor bottom, and 4 wires will go out one hole, and then this one will go out a separate hole from all the rest. And the idea is to shove all of this up in here like so, and then place it down into the capacitor bottom that's still on the chassis. And I think what's going to happen is I'm going to be a little bit shy. I think this whole mess here is about 1/4 of an inch longer than what I need, so I'll have to probably put a little bit of cardboard around the outside, tape it in place, and then put the aluminum around the outside of that. But either way, it'll sit there just like that, and inside the chassis, and it'll work quite well. Okay, now it's time to talk about something else. I think what I'm going to do, I've noticed that the video views that I've been putting up, on all the videos that I've been putting up, the view count has been going down, down, down. So what that tells me is that a lot of folks don't want to slog through this whole restoration process, and I understand that, believe me, trust me. And at the beginning you lose interest. Either that or I'm just not doing enough to maintain their interest. But I understand either way. So what I'm going to do, I've decided that it takes a lot of money to buy batteries for this camera, for this, and of course you have the time expended in the editing of the YouTube video and of the video, and then uploading it to YouTube, and then the project itself gets slowed down, trying to show everybody something. But if folks generally don't, if they'd rather see the end product, which I think that's the situation here, they'd rather see just forget all this crap, let's just go to the TV and see it playing when the restoration is done. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop these videos here and coordinate with my mentor Brendan up in Detroit, and hopefully, if everything goes okay, I'd like to have this TV fully operational no later than the middle of October. So that's what we're going to be doing. So this will be the last video on this particular project until it's completed and playing. Hopefully it will be. You never know. And now I'll do other videos in between, of course, but this particular project will just be sitting at the stage you see it right now until it's hopefully operational. And I appreciate everybody's hung in there with me, though. I've got, what, 900 subscribers, I think, and only a couple of hundred have been watching this thing. So it's better to just show the end product, I think, and it would be better all around for everybody, and it'll make it go much faster. So until then, I appreciate everybody that's been watching thus far, and we'll see you next time. This is John.